Okay. Hey, Drishay. Good to see you, man.
How's it going, Aaron?
Going well. So, will you take a few moments to introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. My name is Drishay Menon. I am the co-founder and CEO of Bottlecode.
And for Bottlecode, I've been using Bottlecode, and
Nice.
I'm going to tell you
Appreciate
about.
that.
I'm going to tell you because you and I haven't talked about what I've seen
We
already.
haven't.
But
No, I'm excited.
yeah, will you tell listeners what your service is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bottlecode is a service that matches men to some of the best skincare and personal grooming products out there. Really, it's kind of focused on this idea that we all have problems and things that we deal with and struggle with, but don't necessarily know how. And a lot of the products and brands out there all promise kind of a one-stop shop solution to your problems. We believe that there's incredible products out there, but we don't necessarily know which ones are right for us. And so Bottlecode is a simple solution. We have experts on board that help you understand how to solve your problems and what are the right products to go about doing that with.
I was using some kind of apricot scrub
Scrub.
that
Yep.
had some exfoliants or whatever, and
Hmm.
I thought it was great. Like I thought it was
Yeah.
helping me every time. I was like, oh,
Hmm.
this is gonna really help. But I was totally oblivious.
Yeah.
Vet told me that that's
Hmm.
like one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah. There's so many things when it comes down to skincare, self-care, grooming, that we've just been taught kind of the wrong things. The marketing and I guess the industry as a whole, a lot of times latches onto certain things, certain products, because they know psychologically they'll do some things where they may not necessarily actually solve the problem. So, scrubs is definitely one of those ones that you see a lot. Men feel like these things that are on my face, if I just scrub them hard enough, maybe they'll go away.
Mhm.
And so you kind of have this interesting kind of dissonance where the psychological component of me scrubbing this off will absolutely solve that problem doesn't necessarily match up with what it does. A lot of times you need to be gentle with your skin. You actually need to take care of it when it has some of these issues. And we've just not been taught how to do that properly. For a lot of men, because we haven't had the ability to have that conversation and talk about how do you deal with acne? How do you deal with razor burn? How do you deal with kind of all these common issues that we have? We often result to remedies that we think are right for us and not necessarily always actually right for us. And so I think scrubs, charcoals, clays, that squeaky clean feeling, that's number one thing that we're going to try and change here. That squeaky clean feeling is actually not good for you. That's actually your body telling you that you've stripped a lot of the good stuff off of it. So yeah, I 100% see that. And that's kind of one of the main reasons we started Bottlecode.
Oh, interesting. So you actually want the moisture, right? You want some like play in your skin. Am I understanding it right?
Yeah, yeah, what's really important is that your facial skin is some of the most sensitive skin that you have in your body, and really what it is taking care of it, making sure that you're understanding how to keep it balanced, taken care of, and just as healthy and happy as possible, right? In the same way that you take care of any living thing. And so this idea of the squeaky clean feeling that we've gotten over years and years of marketing is actually you taking a product, be it a chemical, be it something physical, and kind of scrubbing off a natural part of your skin. Those oils and the things that our skin kind of produces is there for a purpose. Your skin is creating these things to protect it, to moisturize it, to hydrate it. And more often than not, we're saying, well, I actually don't like that. That shine that I get when sometimes my face is a little bit hydrated or it looks oily. I don't like that because I've been told that that's really bad for me. You really want to keep your skin balanced. You want to keep it healthy. You want to keep it hydrated. And a lot of things, again, that we've been taught are just not good for us. Squeaky clean absolutely being one of those. More often than not, what that means is the pH balance on your skin is actually off. And so making sure that you're using a combination of things and products to make sure that your skin is pH balanced, it's taken care of, and it's just operating at optimal function is one of the best things you can do for just the longevity of your skin, your health, your face. again, there's both the health side and the vanity side. I mean, let's be honest, it's kind of the balance of those two. But when it comes down to just the health side of it, making sure you're doing the right things is super important.
Yeah. And Lucas and I were texting about this. Lucas, of course,
Mhm.
and for listeners, it's been
Shout
on.
out Lucas. Yeah.
Lucas has been on the podcast. So Lucas Phillips, I shout him out actually pretty often because I love him.
Pretty often. He's a great
Yeah.
guy.
He and I are texting. It was like, for me, and I know you have this similar
Mhm.
story, so I want to hear it from you. It's like I grew up
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
cystic acne
Mhm.
from like 12, 13, 14 into my 20s. I still get them occasionally.
Mhm. Yeah.
And similar to you, I was like, my mom and I were trying to figure it out. It was really challenging. It's emotional. Um,
Mhm.
I went on
Confidence
Accutane in
destroying.
college
Yeah. Mhm.
and couldn't drink, but also still drank sometimes. So there's like this
Mhm.
risk involved with the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I was breaking out like crazy, and I developed like a redness and like a rosacea almost. I had a
Mhm.
nightmare with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, because I know you have your own version of that.
Yeah.
What was, can you tell us what was your story, man?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because I think my story reflects yours quite similarly. So, my mother had not necessarily the best skin as well. She suffered and kind of struggled with a lot of acne, skincare, cystic acne in particular. And so genetically, I won the genetic lottery and got that myself. And so as a boy kind of going through puberty, really when it comes down to cystic acne, there are a number of factors at play. And I think it really does depend on the person, who you are, your gender, stress, anxiety. There's so many different kind of components that come into skincare and cystic acne in particular that we didn't really understand what was happening. And so I would get really bad acne, like you described, sites of intense acne, cystic acne, a lot of redness, and it made me really uncomfortable. Hurt my confidence, hurt the way that I presented myself, just hurt me feeling proud of who I was. And so, my mom took me to a lot of different people, estheticians, dermatologists, and more often than not, as my mother tended to do, home remedies, trying to solve these ourselves. And
What'd
what
you do?
kind
Like
of came down to it,
avocado or something? Like,
we did all sorts of things. Some of the more intense things, were blue light therapy, skin peel treatments, all sorts of just crazy things that at the time felt like they were the right thing to do for me and my skin, and at the time feels like the right thing to do for acne in general. But they didn't work. I definitely went on Accutane, which absolutely worked, but I didn't even necessarily know what that was, why I was using it, what it was good for, what it was bad for, and so I kind of struggled with it for a long time. I grew up on the other side of the world. So I actually grew up in Indonesia. And so there was even less regulation around that. We were able to get Accutane at the pharmacy. We didn't even necessarily require, lots of prescriptions and control and management of this stuff. And so we largely cowboyed our way through my cystic acne and the way that we kind of took care of myself. And that continued for a long time. I tried all sorts of things. I went and followed Jack Black, Heels, a lot of kind of the best brands out there that make incredible product, but ultimately didn't really know how to use that product and what each individual thing was kind of beneficial for. And so I struggled with it for a long time, and I continued to struggle with it. And really only when I started to meet some of the best, I guess, estheticians out there, the best dermatologists out there, that really kind of took a education forward approach and explained to me why this is happening, how this is happening, and how I actually might solve these problems, did I actually start getting it under control. It was everything from my diet to hydration to stress management, all these different things that I didn't even realize necessarily factored into my skincare and my self-care that I had to manage and I had to take care of. And so that continued. That continued through, middle school, high school, post college. Honestly, today I still struggle with some of those things, and I have a dermatologist, an esthetician, and an entire company now that really focuses on solving some of these problems. I can comfortably say my skin is probably the best it's ever been, but it's only because of education. It really comes down to me really truly understanding how to tackle the problems. When things come up, what do I incorporate? When things happen, what I should take out of my regimen. It took a lot of time and effort to really actually understand these things. And so that's kind of the basis of Bottlecode is, can we take some of those steps out? Can we just make it simpler and easier for you to understand what's wrong, and make it simple for you to understand how to get the treatment and the necessary products to resolve that?
Yeah, nice. This is perfect to lead into how does it actually work? So what, I know because I've gone through it, but what happens when somebody comes to Bottlecode?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you come to Bottlecode, you typically go to bottlecode.com. You answer a simple set of questions. Those questions have been geared to get a better understanding of you, your skin, lifestyle factors, and some of the skincare goals that you have. What are some of the things that you're struggling with? We use that and collect that information for our algorithm and our experts. So what happens is we take all that information and we've devised what we call a problem ingredient solution approach. So we aim to identify kind of
ingredient solution
approach. Exactly.
Yeah, nice.
And so this is it's absolutely kind of an important part of it, because we really wanted to take a slightly more scientific and thoughtful approach to this. A lot of the industry has brands that say, this ingredient or this ingredient is perfect for this thing. Really what we wanted to do is take an approach in which we know from doctors, from estheticians, from peer-reviewed studies that certain things do work and certain things don't work. And so what we did is we use that to be able to build out this algorithm. So we take, all this information that we collect from you, and we try to identify what are some of these problems that you're struggling with. So for example, dryness. A lot of people struggle with dryness with their skin. And so what we do is we say, okay, hyaluronic acid is a perfect ingredient to solve that problem. Perfect. So we're able to identify all your problems. We're able to kind of match you with the right ingredients. And then we're able to kind of stack rank all those ingredients and all the different factors that we have to identify the right solutions to the problems that we have, to the problems that you have or you've told us. What we then do is we use that to kind of put together your regimen. And then we share all that information with our experts, our skincare experts. So we have a staff of highly trained, highly experienced skincare experts that then kind of give it a once over. So they've obviously taken all this information, all this data into account. They're reviewing kind of all these different products and steps that we've outlined for the customer to really just make sure that it's right. Having that human being kind of provide that last layer is extremely important for kind of the personalized nature of our service. So they double check to make sure that the regimen makes sense, that all the products are right for you, and really from there kind of create this personalized regimen that we then send to our customers. You then get a personalized link. That link, as you've seen, you kind of open up. It's got a highly personalized note from your esthetician or your skincare expert, each of the individual products that we would recommend that you incorporate into your regimen. And most importantly, education around why is this right for you? Why do we believe the ingredients in this product are going to solve your problem? And really, that's kind of the first step on this kind of skincare journey that we start with our customer. So they're able to kind of pick and choose the items that you want. We don't lock you into anything. Really, for us, this is our opportunity to kind of prove to you that we know what we're doing. And so then we ship all those products out that you've kind of selected and purchased. We ship them out to you. And really from there, the service only continues. We check in with our customers on a weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly basis, really to make sure that things are working, right? For us, the first step is only the first step. We want to be able to kind of create great recommendations for you. We believe we get anywhere from 80 to 90% of the way there, kind of leveraging the data and the experts that we have, but we're not always right. And so for there, really that follow-up and building that relationship with the customer is the kind of second and most important part. We want to learn what worked, what didn't work, why did it work, why didn't it work, and do you enjoy it? Really for us, that first step of do you enjoy it is an extremely important part of this. Because if we're going to build a skincare regimen that works and lasts for a long time, you need to enjoy doing it and doing it regularly. It does not matter the quality of the ingredients. It does not matter the quality of the products. You could be spending hundreds of dollars a month, but if you're not doing it regularly and consistently, you're not going to get the results that you want. And so for us, it's really important that these products are working for you, that you're enjoying the process, doing it regularly, because that's the first step. Once we have you doing it regularly, then we say, okay, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and how do we continue to evolve it from there.
And people don't pay a membership, right?
No, there's no membership really whatsoever. All you're paying for and kind of purchasing is the products themselves. We work kind of all the, as we describe, value add, or kind of the magic part of our service into the cost of the products themselves. And so you're not paying anything on top of it. Really, we are leveraging kind of our expertise, our skill set, and technology to make it so that you only pay for the product and we'll take care of the rest.
Okay, right. Okay, so there's like a margin on the products for the
correct
service and the recommendations.
Yep.
Okay, so
so
this gets to like, because people will say like, why wouldn't I just do this and then buy the products on Amazon or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's definitely a question that we get quite regularly. So there's a couple, I think, factors to that question and to that answer. First is there are certain things that we wanted to kind of hold as givens, meaning we don't charge more than retail. And typically what you find products sold at Bottlecode, you will find everywhere else on the internet. In some instances, if that's not true, we do price match because we do stand behind kind of the margins and the prices that we honor. Second is shipping is free. So at that point in time, the product is about the same price, the shipping is free. And so now what we've done is we've built a service where everything is kind of on top of that. And so we've worked with these vendors and brands to buy everything at wholesale. We sell everything at retail, and that's kind of what we work within. What we found then is the value add is really where our service comes into play. Making sure that we're working with you to understand how to use the product, making sure you understand, whether you enjoy the product or don't enjoy the product. We have something called a swap guarantee. So if you don't like the product, it isn't working, we will actually swap that product for you early on in the experience to make sure we help you find something that you love. We want to kind of help you navigate that process. We kind of talked about this, where the friction of buying things over and over again can be frustrating. We don't want that for you. And so we kind of take that piece and try and smooth that entire process. And so that's really why people come to us. They have a problem that they're struggling with. They've probably tried a bunch of products and they're just not finding the solutions that they need here. So they're coming to us saying, I have this problem. Can you just solve it for me? Everyone in their life has that person. You have that trusted kind of resource partner, be it your sister, mother, brother, father, someone that you go to for certain problems that you struggle with. And they're like, okay, I know who you are. Here are the simple steps and things you can do to solve that problem. When it comes to skincare and self-care for men, a lot of us don't have that person. That's what Bottlecode is really aiming to be. And that's really where kind of our value add comes into play.
I think about it because I do coaching and consulting. And so it's like, it's essentially like, I think about it as like, I'm paying Bottlecode for that, like consulting essentially. Like, I talked to you before is like, once I started using the facial stuff, then I was like, oh, I like dry scalp.
Yep.
And that's getting all itchy. And so let me text you about that because I trust you guys and I trust the consulting essentially is how I would put it that you're providing.
I think that's exactly right. What we eventually wanted to kind of develop ourselves into is that one-stop shop that your trusted partner is there to help you with, right? If we're able to do a good job and show to you that we are first and foremost focused on solving your problems and helping identify what those might be, you'll continue to come to us with your other problems. And so for a lot of guys, it's okay, first thing that I'm trying to solve is, let's say, dryness on my skin. All right, let's help you with that. Let's show you the process and how we go about doing that. Then the second step is, well, I have dryness on my elbows. I have, dryness in my scalp. Perfect. We are trained. We have the product. We have the experts that know how to solve that for us. And so for us, it's developing ourselves as kind of a trusted partner that is, again, trying to push solutions to your problem as opposed to specific product. For us, high quality, excellent product is our means to solve problems, as opposed to having to push a specific product. A lot of the other times, and this is kind of where our struggle came into play, where, I find excellent options from a specific brand. I unfortunately can't necessarily go to them to get hair care, body care, and everything else from them because the rest of it doesn't work for my skin. It doesn't necessarily solve the problem. I gave it a shot, I tried it, it didn't necessarily work. Our ability to kind of stock many, many brands, dozens of brands, allows us to say, well, we'll give you your skincare, your cleanser from here, your moisturizer from here. And you know what? This brand has an excellent hair care, shampoo, conditioner from here. Let's get all that to you in one place and continue to figure out what are those things that work for you.
Very cool. So let's go to the vision and the bigger sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And like, would it be, you know, kind of all kinds of different self-care, including like, you know, branching off into yoga or mental health, or like just trying to understand where this could go for y'all?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, really at the highest level, and this is obviously where things get really abstract, is that we really want to make, you know, more happy, healthy men that are better suited to take care of themselves and ultimately the people around them. And so I think what that means is kind of cutting through some of the noise to be able to best understand, am I allowed to take care of myself? How do I take care of myself? And when I do take care of myself, what are some of the benefits, values, and results that I then get as a result of that? You know, I think that's really what our goal and vision is at the highest level. You know, can we help you understand the best way to take care of yourself? Can we change the way that you think about skincare, personal grooming? Can we change the way that, you know, your relationship with the stigma or maybe lack of stigma that come with this category to just make you a healthier, more proud individual of who you are? You know, healthy, happy people are best suited to take care of themselves. But the way that I look at it is, if you're able to take care of yourself in a great and healthy way, you're able to help the people around you better than you ever have. You know, we've all gone through moments of stress and you just don't feel right about yourself and who you are. And it becomes really hard for you to be able to do that for the people around you. You know, we believe that kind of self-care is having somewhat of a renaissance right now, specifically when it comes to, specifically when it comes to men, but I think people as a whole. You know, COVID, I think has definitely illuminated a lot of these areas for individuals. And so for us, it's taking that opportunity to say, well, now that you're taking a moment to step back and think about how you should be taking care of yourself, have you thought about skincare? Have you thought about self-care? Have you thought about personal grooming and how that factors into this larger perspective of how you take care of yourself? And so I think that's kind of the vision, is can we just provide this trusted resource that's education forward that allows you to best understand, how do I take care of myself? I think for us, it starts with skincare, self-care, personal grooming, but I think we are not necessarily going to limit ourselves to that. Where we go from that, I can't necessarily speak to yet, but really for us, owning your bathroom and making it so that you only have to go to one place to get the solutions you need is definitely the vision in the immediate term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like my buddy was talking about Peloton, and kind of, it's kind of a movement of like, especially with COVID, you're right. It's like people are at home, like, how do I take care of myself? They tapped into a certain way with Peloton to do that and to promote certain values and certain practices.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's what you're going to see a lot more from us this coming year. Really what we wanted to be able to do, and I think you'll begin to see more of myself, probably a lot more of our founders, you know, men at different stages of their lives that are struggling with a lot of the same thing. You know, it's, I want to, again, be the best version of myself. I kind of want to represent myself in the best way possible. But more often than not, I haven't been given the license to do these things. You know, in some kind of, I don't know, this might be a little bit silly, but I'm rewatching Friends, as all of us do over and over and over again. And there's that kind of one silly episode in which Ross, Joey, and Chandler kind of do the face masks kind of on the T-zone.
Yeah.
And the like ridicule and the joking that comes from every other person, kind of their social circle, is hilarious at the time, but obviously makes it so that we feel like we shouldn't be doing these things, right? We shouldn't be taking care of ourselves. And so as a result, that's a lot of what we want to change. We want to make it so that if a guy wants to do a face mask, awesome. If someone wants to take the time to sit down, relax with a scotch and a face mask, let's do that. There's no harm and shame in any of these things. And we feel like we're seeing that change happen right now, where the younger generation definitely does not have a lot of the same hangups in terms of how they take care of themselves. And more interestingly now, the older generation is starting to kind of wake up to that. The generation, I would say kind of the baby boomer generation, the Gen X generation, where you were taught to shave by being told, well, you take a razor and you scrape it on your face. That's how you shave. These individuals are now looking at self-care and skincare and saying, well, seems to be working for these younger guys. They look great. I feel younger on the inside that I clearly look on the outside. Like, is there something to this? And so we want to create a brand, an experience, a resource that these individuals can check out, look, and just better understand that, yeah, it's okay for you to take care of yourself. It's not going to change who you are. It's not going to change people's perceptions of you, but it'll make you feel happier. It'll make you have less pain on a day-to-day basis, and you'll just be a healthier, more confident individual. Let's do that. Why shouldn't we do that?
Now I'm really curious, Drishay, on marketing, because I actually have a similar, it's really interesting how these things play out. Like I have a similar clientele base where I have younger startup founders like Lucas, but I also have worked with baby boomers who are nearing retirement to do strategic planning and succession planning on their companies.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating how both of those needs are there in the world.
Yeah.
How do you market? Are you going after a specific one, or are you marketing to both? What do you think about marketing and branding, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think from our perspective, we are going to start by talking to kind of that older generation. This older generation has probably been the least served when it comes to self-care and personal care. The younger generation that's kind of coming up now, I would say millennials, Gen Z, we've been provided a lot of these resources. We've been marketed to by a lot of these brands. So shout out to these incredible brands like Hims, Dollar Shave Club, Harry's, that have been marketed towards millennials and Gen Z, and have been focused on first facial care, and then from there facial hair care, and then obviously from there skincare. So they've done a really good job in kind of introducing a lot of these men to that concept very early on, but they haven't necessarily talked to that older generation, and that older generation just has a different set of needs. The two top concerns that we have men coming to us for are wrinkles kind of all over my face, and then bags under my eyes, right? These are kind of the second set of triggers that we have as men to start taking care of ourselves. The first being typically acne, kind of going through puberty or something like that. And so a lot of these brands are doing a great job helping younger men at a great price point. For us, it's let's talk to some of these older men and help them understand, why should I be taking care of myself? How should I be taking care of myself? And again, what are the right products to go about doing that? And so we're creating a brand that's a little bit more kind of down the road, or a little bit more down the middle, if you will, in terms of men's skincare has always been branded in one very specific way, which is every bottle is black, gray, or red. And if you use this product, you're going to get the girl, or you're going to have success in life. Where for a lot of men like us and older, it's more about taking care of myself. It's more about me feeling like the healthy, proud, confident individual that I am. So I think that's going to be really the focus there, is creating content around that individual that is coming to us with problems and is a little bit unsure of how to take care of themselves, if they should take care of themselves, and so on.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting play. Are you finding success in that? Because you could also just go straight for the younger group. What's the reason?
Yeah, absolutely.
You finding success here?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of reasons. We're absolutely finding success. When it comes down to, if you look at the metrics and the numbers of the type of people that are coming to our website, the main concerns that they're clicking, really baggy eyes and kind of wrinkles are number 1 and 2. Those are absolutely the main concerns. Those individuals that are tackling things like acne, basic skincare, simple things like I want a good cleanser, moisturizer, and day kind of moisturizer. You're able to find that in a lot of different places now. Since we started Bottlecode, and I think this speaks to the growth of the industry, since we started Bottlecode, over 20 to 25 new men's skincare brands have popped up.
And
And if
that's
you
just
look
in the
at them,
last couple of years, yeah.
just in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at a lot of those brands, they have a cleanser, a moisturizer, a day moisturizer, and are typically trying to speak to that customer in a very specific way, which is start taking care of your skin now, which is absolutely necessary. And so I think they're doing a really good job in that category, in that space. For those customers, you don't necessarily need a personal individual. You don't need a skincare expert. You don't necessarily need someone that's talking about the intricacies of a toner, a serum, how these things kind of necessarily play together. And so for us, then speaking to that category of individual that is looking to incorporate a toner, they're looking to maybe have a vitamin C or a retinoid or retinol incorporated, things where it starts getting a little bit tricky and you want to have kind of that person there to help you with, that's really where Bottlecode comes into play, right? This high level of service and this high level of personalization resonates really well with that type of customer. Now, as we continue to evolve a business, we are going to absolutely continue to go to both directions, meaning we'll continue to offer high-end product and even higher end product as time goes on. We haven't even necessarily touched the luxury category, talking about brands like La Mer that have excellent formulations at higher price points. We'll continue to kind of explore that natural product, organic product, vegan product, really taking kind of all men's personal preferences into account. And then eventually we'll continue to go down and earlier in the chain as well. My ultimate goal and belief is that men should be learning how to take care of themselves from a young age. We want to be a part of that conversation. We just think that there are some excellent brands that are doing a great job now. And as we continue to grow, we will become a part of that conversation. But we feel like the opportunity, the white space, where more help is needed right now is kind of that older and slightly older category.
Yeah, got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about challenges if you're up for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's the way of the entrepreneur. Like, I guess, what challenges are you facing right now?
Yeah.
What do you actually? I'll phrase it this way.
There's a lot.
I'll give you some time to think about it. It's like somebody told me, a buddy told me that he heard it from a CEO. She thinks about, like, if the board were to like fire me and put in a new CEO, and then that CEO did like face certain like challenges and like overcame them, what would that be? And she does that like mental exercise as a way to basically be like, okay, well now I'm going to consider doing these things that I might have otherwise not done. What challenges are you facing right now?
So I'll try and answer this using that analogy to the best of my ability.
Yeah, sure.
I think the biggest piece, the biggest challenge right now for us as founders, as people building a business in this category, is kind of the somewhat uncharted nature of this territory. I think what we're trying to do and build is not only a company in this space, but we are trying to change people's perceptions of this category. And that's ultimately really hard. I don't think, we're not tackling something completely new and crazy like Uber did, where they had to be like, have you heard of ride sharing? No? Okay, cool. We'll give it a shot. We obviously have some kind of understanding that exists very much kind of on the female side or the women's side of things. Being able to kind of navigate that space to not only build a business within it, but then to be able to try and establish yourself as kind of that trusted resource that doesn't necessarily fall into status quo, right? I think there's a lot of, there's a lot of comfort in trying to do what other people have done. There are a lot of incredible brands out there that have built their businesses serving men in a very specific way. We believe that kind of the future of how to serve men is very different, requires a different tone, requires a different type of brand, different type of messaging. And that's really hard, not only to be able to do ourselves as kind of young founders that are trying to build this business, but it's also extremely hard to try and convince people that haven't seen really anything like it, right? We're taking this approach to the industry that isn't a kind of standard direct-to-consumer play. We haven't gone and built a better for you product at a more affordable price. We've really focused on this kind of service idea and really solving your problem as opposed to a one product that's going to solve that problem. And so I think that's kind of one of our biggest challenges, is really navigating this territory and kind of being leaders in that space, and really identifying ourselves as, not only do we know what we're talking about, but let us explain to you why this other way is the better way, or the way that people want to be spoken to. And so what that then translates into, some of the challenges that I have that another CEO may have to do, or even do better than me, is finding believers. We're not going to build this business on our own, right? We need to be able to find some of the best talent in the space when it comes to branding, messaging, content, product, expertise around skincare and dermatology, to be able to establish ourselves as not only, again, the resource to talk to, but again, why you should be listening to them. Finding believers that what we are doing is the future, that it is worth investing in, not only from a monetary perspective, but your time, your effort, and belief that this category is going to change, is extremely hard. And so I think that's going to be one of the biggest challenges that we have as a whole. But with some of the players that we've had in the space, a little bit of the traction that we're getting, in some weird ways, COVID has actually accelerated the trend as well, where people are starting to think about caring and taking care of themselves more than ever before. A lot of those wins have definitely kind of changed in our direction, which is exciting and compelling, and only drives us to kind of keep going.
It reminds me, man, of, do you know the crossing the chasm bell curve? You know this?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurial communities.
Please repeat it to me though.
I'll link to it. What's that?
Yeah. I said, please explain it to me again to make sure I get it right.
Yeah. Because I'm in a similar spot where I'm also crossing the chasm. And it's it's a bell curve. And so there's early adopters, the believers just right on the front wave. And then there's some early minority, or I can't remember the way it's talked about. But then there's typically a chasm to where kind of the next third or so of the bell curve, and then and if you can get all the way, then you can become a market leader.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, that's absolutely the types of things that we're struggling with. I mean, we're super fortunate that a lot of the individuals that have kind of bought into Bottlecode early on get it. Interestingly enough, Lucas, again, shout out to Lucas again, was one of those people. Not only did he kind of get it out the gate, but was excited, passionate, reached out to us, told us about kind of how much he believes in what we're doing. And we get that quite regularly. There are a lot of individuals, men, and we do serve women, but individuals that come and understand the perspective that we are taking on this industry, and understand the approach that we're taking it, and just love us and want to support us. And we can't be, thankful enough for kind of that support. And it keeps us going as we approach that chasm, because that's definitely real.
Yeah. Well, I'm quickly becoming one of those supporters and believers. So
awesome.
I love it.
I appreciate that. We like to say that any men that have skin should believe in us, but it'll take some time. And I do think that kind of this year, taking a lot of the time and effort to be able to, I think, demonstrate the thought process, where we come from, why we exist, and what we're trying to do in this space is going to be really important for us. Really, this year is going to be pretty important, because up until this point in time, for these past couple of years, we've really been focusing on the model. We've been really focusing on what is kind of our position, what is our place in this market, how do we offer something that's differentiated and provides value add outside of a lot of the other companies and brands that you're seeing in the space. And we feel pretty good about where we are. We're not perfect. There's absolutely a ton of things that we need to be able to improve and continue to do with regards to how we help start customers on this journey. But this year, it's going to be a lot more about why do we exist? What are we here to do? Why is it important that we're doing something in terms of trying to help change the perception of men's skincare and the way that we take care of ourselves? So, yeah.
Let's hit your resources. We talked a little bit about it. You've learned a lot from companies that you've worked for and people and mentors.
Yeah.
Those are often really helpful for people, myself included, for different models of what is what works and who we can look up to.
Mm-hmm.
Who is it for you, and what are some of those ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have, I suppose, this interesting perspective. Well, not interesting, it's probably pretty boring, but my perspective on kind of education, learning, and the way that I'd like to kind of pick up these things is really focused on foundational understanding. So a lot of the times when it comes down to, let's say, marketing, right? I am not a marketer by trade. I'm an engineer, I'm a product guy, I'm a tech guy, I'm an operations and business guy, but I'm not a marketer by trade. For me, there are a lot of people that can kind of jump into, let's say, Facebook ads, Google ads, and just learn by doing. They're able to kind of understand, okay, cool, if I do this and I do this, these things will happen. For me, it's really important to understand kind of the why below it. Like, why do you market in this way? What is this concept of top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel? Why are those important? How do you even necessarily use those different components? I am definitely not a Elon Musk fanboy, but one of the things that he said very early on that I resonated with really strongly is the way that he's able to pick up a lot of information and knowledge is that he focuses on the roots, because if you have good roots, then kind of your branches and tendrils are able to go pretty far. If you have strong roots kind of in the tree, it's able to grow pretty effectively and really branch out quite far. And so that's kind of the approach that I've taken. And more importantly, a lot of the times when kind of reading books, reading articles and things of that nature, I always feel like I'm kind of getting that surface level understanding. And so for me, I've really indexed and lean a lot harder on the human beings that I've been fortunate enough to be able to kind of meet and work with in the past. I think it very much started during my time at Trunk Club. It started with my education and things of that nature, but I think in more practical sense, it started with my time at Trunk Club. So I joined Trunk Club kind of back in 2013, so relatively kind of early in its growth. And I was just surrounded by, in my opinion, some of the best product people, the best operators, the best engineers and product folk, and just some of the best people that know how to scale a business, understand why you scale a business, understand how different methodologies could be used. So for example, one of the common ones that you hear a lot at startups is agile methodology. That was something that I kind of had to learn on the job. What was really compelling about my experience was that they taught me why each of these things work. Why might you do 2-week sprints? Why might you do these different components? Why might you estimate? Why do those things actually matter? And what that allowed me to do is really kind of take each of these different concepts, learnings, books, things that I'd kind of picked up and apply them in the way that made sense. And I think that has continued to be one of the most important resources that I have in my life. I'm constantly tapping people. I'm just lucky that kind of the Midwest in general are extremely generous with their time. We are still very much kind of a small and growing kind of community, and everyone wants to help. If you're kind, respectful, and are willing to show that you really want to learn, people will go above and beyond to teach you. I actually think, Lucas is a good example, that Randy is a great example, that people that you've had on your podcast, yourself, are good examples of that. Individuals that just want to be helpful and teach and educate and pass on a lot of that knowledge. And that's just been one of the best ways for me to learn in a kind of a quick and effective manner. So that's my long answer to your short question.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like how you take a human being approach to it, especially as things accelerate and become faster and faster. It's like a mentor I've been learning from recently has just been helping me with this podcast and designing this. That's not in any book. Like that's not
right.
And I didn't study that in university. So it's like the people are constantly learning and growing, and it's happening faster and faster.
Everything.
Are there other ones, Drishay, other than Trunk Club? Other resources, people stand out?
So I think that's definitely one of the big ones. And I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit in kind of this answer. But what actually ended up happening was so many of the individuals that kind of worked at that company loved each other and just like supported each other and just saw the value in kind of everyone's education, background, and skill sets, that since then we've actually spun out a number of Slack communities that are focused on very specific things. So we have kind of a Trunk Club Slack community dedicated to all the engineers and all the tech folk that kind of worked on Trunkload through some of those key years. We've spun out a Slack community that's specific to product and operations and finance people. And there's no better, honestly, resource for me to be able to go into one of those groups and ask just a very specific pointed question. How do I do X, Y, and Z? And people kind of go above and beyond and kind of giving their perspective, giving their answer. They've done a lot of this research. They've done a lot of this work. And I think it's ultimately super important that I ultimately trust each of these individuals' work process, thought process, that I know they've kind of done these things in advance, things that I would have probably done myself. And so I'm able to kind of leapfrog some of these resources and get some of those answers super quickly. And so they tend to point me to great resources, great books and articles. And I don't know, it's tough for me to really kind of latch onto one. I do try to read a lot and kind of consume a lot, but I don't think I can kind of overstate the value of kind of these individuals in my life and kind of how they've helped. And I think it probably does not surprise people that I'm building a business that has human beings at the center of it, because that's how I get my answers, right? I like being able to talk to people that know who I am and are able to kind of give me answers in the ways that are helpful to me. That is very much the basis of kind of how Bottlecode works as well. And so that continues to be number one for me.
Yep. Cool. Okay. Let's hit your entrepreneurial lessons. What have you learned? What have you learned along the way? What would you?
Yeah.
Randy and I like to play this game. It's kind of like when we're 50 years old or 60 or whatever, and we're kind of like teaching. Maybe we have books or whatever. We're kind of like teaching entrepreneurial lessons. What would you be teaching?
Absolutely. Okay. So I think mine comes down to believing in yourself. Sounds a little cliche, but what I believe some of the best founders and operators are able to do is believe in themselves and find the confidence to do that. What I believe is that a lot of people derive confidence in different ways. Some people require a lot of data to be able to make decisions. Some people require a lot of experience and expertise to be able to make decisions. And then some of those people that just do everything by their gut feel. There are people that are just like, this feels right, and so I'm just going to go do that. How you derive your confidence is extremely important for you to not only tap into, but also learn over time. How do you figure out how to make some of these decisions, right? A lot of being kind of a CEO, a founder, and an entrepreneur is being able to kind of come up to a situation, consume all the information that you need, and make a quick decision. How you're able to kind of believe in yourself, develop that confidence to be able to make those decisions is extremely important in kind of this entrepreneurial journey. Ultimately, you're going to be given 2 cents from every single individual that you talk to. You've probably tackled this. Every single person listening to this, or every other founder on your podcast listening to this, has had this. Everyone that kind of comes in with a very strong 2 cents and says like, nope, you should do it this way. Absolutely. As a young kind of founder and CEO, you're super susceptible to that, especially when you haven't necessarily found kind of that grounding of how you develop your confidence and how you believe in yourself. And so you're very easily swayed. And so I think my biggest entrepreneurial lesson that I've learned and still working on and still struggling with is, how do you believe in yourself and how do you derive that confidence? Where does that come from? And how do you continually tap into that as things get hard, as you continue to grow your business, and as things continue to go well?
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like when you have the vision, it's like only you can really see your vision. Only I can see my vision. So everyone else has some stuff that helps, but really it's the founder needs to like create the vision, and everyone needs to do that. So it's just like,
yeah. I mean, that's absolutely probably one of the second most important lessons that I've learned is how do you share context? How am I able to kind of transport what I have in my mind over to you, right? How am I able to align individuals like yourself to what I see and what I want to do? In these early stages of starting a company, I am surrounded by incredibly smart individuals that could operate this business on their own. have their own ideas and their own perspectives on how they go about doing things. And for a lot of the times, it's going to be us coming together on a lot of these shared thoughts and feelings. But it's also going to be a lot of the times when, I'm off talking to mentors, I'm talking to investors, being able to share that context back so that we kind of have this, I guess, shared context and shared feeling of how do we go forward. And if you do your job well and you continue to hire incredible people, that job only gets harder and harder. You need to be able to share that context with larger and larger groups of people, which changes and evolves. And so, yeah.
Yeah, got it. It's almost like building community and building culture and building like values. And you need to be able to do that really fast as a tech founder, as it scales.
Yeah. There's so many things that, when I was kind of going through my experience at Trunk Club, one of the founder and CEO there was Brian Spaley. Brian Spaley was and is an incredible founder, an incredible, investor. And there were so many things that he did that I just couldn't even fathom. There were things that every single employee at Trunk Club believed they owned the company. I'll explain why that's compelling, right? When you had individuals that were starting at the company all the way up to the C-suite, everyone acted like an owner. This was kind of one of the mantras that he would repeat to us over and over and over again, act like an owner. And that did so many things that I didn't even realize was incredibly crucial and compelling to the beginning stages of that company. Every single person acted as if I don't do this thing, it's going to impact the entire company. When all the way down to, smaller individuals that had kind of smaller jobs all the way up, they were like, if I don't do this and I don't believe in this and I don't put my all into this, bad things will happen. That was an incredible kind of value and piece of knowledge that he was able to share. There's so many things that, some of these great CEOs and founders that are able to do that I'm trying to pick up and I'm trying to learn. And I'm trying to be able to share some of that context on my own. But yeah, I think those are extremely hard to do, and probably one of the most important things you can do as a kind of founder in the early stages and all the way through.
We've got believe in yourself, share context. What else, or is that kind of?
I think the last piece then would be kind of learn how to be confident to a certain degree. And what I mean by learn to be confident, I don't mean just put on your favorite power suit and just be confident. Figure out what are the things that make you confident in the decision that you need to make. Some people use pattern matching. Some people use data. Some people use gut feel. Figure out what those things are that allow you to make decisions effectively and quickly, and use those to your advantage.
Very cool. Yeah. Awesome. That hits it for me. What else, if anything, would you like to leave folks with?
Not really much. I think I'm really excited about the journey that we're on, and in particular, kind of the year that we have ahead. We're starting to see kind of some of the changes when it comes down to how individuals take care of themselves, in particular men. Watch out for us. Again, if you're a guy with skin, come check us out. And if you're not, tell a guy with skin to come check us out. We're excited to be able to help as many men as possible just be happier, healthier versions of themselves.
Where should people look? Of course, bottlecode.com. Where else should people find you?
You can find us all over. So we're at Bottlecode on Instagram. You can go to bottlecode.com, BOTTLE code.com. You can find us on Twitter at Your Bottlecode. You can find us everywhere. So come check us out. Ask Yvette a question, ask me a question. Feel free to email me at any time. Excited to be able to help however we can.
Is your email on there, or do you want to share it? Or
yeah, you can pretty much reach all of us at info@bottlecode.com. Every single founder still reads every single one of those emails, so please feel free to reach out to us. We're extremely connected to our customers, what they're struggling with, and kind of the solution that we want to provide. So info@bottlecode.com, and you'll get your answer real quick.
Perfect. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming on. And if you will, just hang out and we'll talk.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Cool.